welcome to this explainer. Okay, so have you ever stopped to think about the ultimate bottleneck in modern tech? We've got these absolutely blazing fast processors and incredible networks, but at the end of the day, application latency almost always comes down to one fundamental thing. How fast can you actually get to your data? Today, we're breaking down the architecture and applications of block storage fundamentals.
Seriously, think about that for a second. How on earth do massive global databases process literally millions of transactions every single second without crashing, freezing, or just keeping you waiting? Well, the unsung hero behind these high-performance environments isn't just a beefier computer. It's actually a totally different way of organizing data that completely bypasses the clunky, traditional filing systems we're all used to on our personal laptops. Okay, let's dive into this and break this complex cloud networking topic into 5 digestible chunks. First, what block storage actually is. Second, how it works. Third, its core benefits. Then we'll look at some real-world use cases. And finally, we'll wrap up with the great storage showdown.
Part 1. What is block storage? Think of it as the direct pipeline to your data.
Look, if traditional file storage is like this massive, heavy filing cabinet with a super complex sorting system, block storage basically takes a sledgehammer to all of that. It takes your data, divides it up into perfectly equal-sized blocks, and stores them on physical drives optimized for pure, unadulterated speed. There's no extra file system layer to slow things down. By skipping protocols like NFS or SMB, developers get this hyper-direct, ultra-low latency path right to their information.
Moving right along to Part 2, how block storage works. The journey of a data packet. Now, what's really interesting here is how we actually chop up and map out the data during the write process. First up, the application splits the data into those equal, block-sized sections we just talked about. Step 2, it scatters those chunks, writing them to multiple, completely non-sequential blocks all over the storage environment. It just puts them wherever is most efficient. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Because block storage doesn't keep high-level metadata, like who owns the file or when it was created, it relies entirely on Step 3. It records a unique identifier for every single block in a dedicated data lookup table. That table is essentially the ultimate treasure map for your application.
And that exact map is what we use for the read process. When a user requests a file, Step 1 is consulting that data lookup table to find the addresses of all those scattered pieces. For Step 2, the server practically teleports to those specific blocks and grabs them. And finally, Step 3, the application seamlessly merges those blocks right back into their original sequence. The crazy part? This whole shebang happens in milliseconds, handing you your data perfectly intact.
All right, Part 3, the benefits of block storage. Let's talk about its superpowers.
Developers absolutely love this architecture for their most demanding, mission-critical workloads. And here's why. First off, ultra-low latency. Since we've stripped away all that heavy metadata, the transfer overhead is almost non-existent. Next up is infinite scalability and flexibility. Need more space? Just slap on some new blocks. You can even format them for entirely different operating systems. But honestly, my absolute favorite superpower is how it handles frequent modifications. Imagine having to rewrite an entire encyclopedia just because you found one tiny typo on page 500. Block storage saves you from that nightmare. If you change one small detail in a massive database, the system just rewrites that single specific block. It's a massive time saver. Plus, you get totally granular control. You can put your fast-changing, hot data on expensive solid-state drives and dump your cold, static data on cheaper hard disk drives to save some serious cash.
And hey, this isn't just theoretical stuff. Take Viasat, for example. They use Amazon Elastic Block Store, or Amazon EBS, to capture incredibly high-throughput, highly transactional data while still optimizing their storage costs. It just perfectly proves that this technology is custom-built for performance, agility, and cost optimization at a truly global scale. Okay, let's move to Part 4, real-world use cases, or basically, where this tech actually lives in the wild.
Very often, block storage lives inside what we call a SAN, which stands for Storage Area Network. Now, a SAN is a complex networking technology that presents block storage to multiple networked systems. But it does it so seamlessly that the servers actually think those blocks are locally attached devices, like right inside their own chassis. To make this magic trick happen, SANs typically use blazing fast fiber channel interconnects. So a SAN is built on 3 main layers. You've got the host layer, which contains the servers managing access.
the storage layer, which is the actual physical disk drives, and the fabric layer, which is the web of switches, bridges, and routers connecting it all together. Now let's do a quick so what check here. Why go through the trouble of building this massive, complex network? One word, redundancy. SANs use synchronous and asynchronous replication across long physical distances. That means if an entire geographic data center suddenly goes dark, your block storage is already mirrored somewhere else, completely mitigating catastrophic downtime.
And it's exactly that high availability design that makes block storage so perfect for heavy transactional workloads. We're talking about mission-critical, time-sensitive stuff here. Sales records, operation logs, login alerts. In these high-stakes environments, block storage is secured by RAID. That's a redundant array of independent disks. RAID acts as the ultimate safety net. If a primary disk completely fails, the system instantly recovers the data from a secondary disk, meaning your fault-tolerant databases literally never skip a single beat.
Beyond databases, block storage is also the absolute backbone for virtual machines, or VMs. A VM is a technology that lets a single physical computer run multiple, completely separate operating systems using a software layer called a hypervisor. Block storage is basically a match made in heaven for this, because you can take a block volume, format it, and instantly turn it into a dedicated VM file system. This gives IT teams the power to easily shrink, expand, or move virtual drives from one host to another like it's nothing.
And the flexibility really doesn't stop there. Block storage is heavily used for containers, making it super easy for developers to seamlessly migrate containerized cloud apps across different servers. It's also huge in data analytics, providing the independent, high-performance distributed units that heavy hitters like Hadoop HDFS and Kafka absolutely require. And on a simpler level, it's the gold standard for boot desks, giving you the fast, rock-solid reliability you need to boot an OS over network.
Finally, Part 5, the Great Storage Showdown. It's time to choose your architecture.
Let's put block storage head-to-head with object storage. As we've seen, block is all about strict, low latency. It's built for structured databases, VM volumes, and massive read/write loads. Object storage, though, it's basically the exact opposite. It's designed for vast oceans of unstructured data. Think millions of random videos and images. It relies on complex metadata management to tag everything, and it's built for unlimited, infinite scale rather than blazing operational back-end speed. Now let's contrast block with file storage. File storage is probably what you use at work every day. It's great for specific NAS environments, it uses those intuitive hierarchical folders, and it's super easy for humans to navigate. Complete with those final_version2 actual file naming conventions we all secretly love. But when it comes to back-end operational speed, block storage is the clear winner. It integrates across different operating systems, and you can just keep adding new blocks on the fly without ever increasing your latency.
Before we wrap up, there's one final variation I have to mention: instant storage. This is temporary, block-level storage that is physically attached right to the host computer. Because it's temporary, it's highly volatile. It's your go-to solution for data that is constantly changing but doesn't actually need to be permanently saved. We're talking about things like web server buffers, caches, and scratch data.
So, what does this all mean? Well, the absolute crucial takeaway is summarized right here for you. If you need ultra-low latency for databases and VMs, you absolutely want block storage. If you need unlimited scale for massive media files and backups, go with object storage. For intuitive, everyday folder sharing among end users, file storage is your friend. And for host-attached, temporary data, instant storage is the way to go.